This video will prepare you to understand more about the mechanics before the game is released. I covered from the basics to some advanced stuff related to drive gauge, parry, drive impact, and drive rush. I noticed the parry system was changed in the demo, and most of you will like the adjustment. Also, I added some extra tips at the end of the video. Thank you all for supporting, and please, any feedback is well appreciated. As most of you know, the drive gauge regeneration speed will depend if you are doing any offensive or defensive mechanic. Walking and jumping forward are considered offensive, also dashing forward. Crouching, jumping back, neutral jumping, or walking back will be considered defensive. So if you are in the offense, your drive gauge will regenerate faster, but if you are in the defensive, it will be slower. Before moving here, I wanted to explain something. I am a huge fan of Sonic Soul. He made a video recently explaining the drive gauge recovery while using the demo, which has very little options, so I will just add more to that. Indeed, the drive gauge regeneration speed will be different depending if you spent drive meter or not. Because of this, you might need to modify how you end your combos so your drive gauge recovers earlier. If you whiff your parry or do a neutral drive rush, your drive gauge regeneration will be from 4.5 to 4.7 seconds. Drive impact has a drive gauge regeneration of 3.5 seconds, and canceling a normal into drive rush has between 2.5 to 3 seconds. EX moves will regenerate in 2.5 seconds, and blocking with parry will regenerate in 1.5 seconds. This is how you should not end your combos, because you need to count after your last drive gauge usage. So on this example, I did neutral drive rush, meaning I have to wait between 4.5 to 4.7 seconds. Same here, again my last drive meter spent was neutral drive rush, so I have to wait between 4.5 to 4.7 seconds, and this is not recommended. One of the main purposes of doing your critical art besides damage is to recover your drive meter. In some cases, the recovery could be faster or slower by a few milliseconds, but the concept is the same. Here I did cancel a normal into drive rush, so I have to wait between 2.5 to 3 seconds. As you can see here, I didn't use any drive meter, so it will start regenerating immediately. Also, I tested this in the demo version, and it works exactly the same. I noticed a very little mistake Sonic Soul made while he was testing. He mentioned the recovery stops then starts again at the end of the critical art, but the reason why it stops is because he was in a tutorial. These two are good examples of how to end your combos with critical art. As you can see, at the end, you will have the same drive gauge you started the combo with. So in my opinion, this will be important because you will need to manage your drive gauge properly, or you will end up in a burnout state quickly. I believe Perfect Parry will be very strong at high-level gameplay. Once people learns the frame data, you will see many players doing parry if they are in a negative state, such as forward heavy punch with Ryu, which is +1 on block. Many characters have positive normals or specials, and yes, the damage for punishing with Perfect Parry is very low, but you need to consider something. If you punish with Perfect Parry, you take 1 drive meter from your opponent while you build meter, and this is critical in Street Fighter 6. At first, it will be hard to get the timing, but once you get it, you will be able to do it more frequently. You will see pro players punishing any follow-up that is not a block string. And yes, worst case you will eat a grab that will take a chunk of your life, but if you know your opponent, you can take advantage of this. Keep in mind, if you perfect parry a fireball, you need to punish faster. This is why I do crouching medium punch. This is a very common way for Guile players to attack. They will do the overhead or 2 crouching medium kicks to confuse you, so you can try a perfect parry here. Worst case you will block the crouching medium kick, but they will not grab you because you will be far. For Jamie is his standing medium punch, which is +1 on block. And of course, Ken has his Dragon Flash kick. Now, for this part of the Party 101 section, I wanted to mention that there was a change to the parry system. Now you can drive rush from a perfect parry, and this was not possible in the previous versions. This is huge because for those who have great reactions, will have the option to punish fireballs from a decent distance. Probably you have seen videos from some Japanese players doing it. This is the previous beta version. As you can see, I am trying to do drive rush after the perfect parry and is not coming out. And this is the demo version. As you can see, I can do drive rush after a perfect parry. This is huge, so my advice is to place the parry in one button, and if possible make sure is a button you can easily access. If your opponent is spamming fireballs and you block, you will lose drive meter, and this is not recommended. Instead, use your parry so you can keep your drive gauge healthy. It is not necessary to try perfect parry from a long distance, only try it from a distance you can drive rush to punish. All meaties will have the same timing while you are waking up, so make sure to practice this perfect party. Also remember, every character will have frame trap options, so be ready to punish those. Some moves will have a better punish option like Ken's Jinrai kick, even if they stop after the first hit. Some EX Shoryukens will be a better option. Also, you will see Yuri players trying to bait you to punish so they can do standing medium kick. Instead, you can try a perfect parry. Keep in mind, if your opponent tries to cross you up and you can move, instead of trying to parry, just move forward and punish. If you are in the corner, you need to expect this. Your opponent will try to camouflage a drive impact with a drive rush, and maybe some target combos or heavy normal that are cancelable. Some might think that this is cheap, but is not. If you are aware of this, you will be able to react against these setups. This setup is very tricky. It's kind of hard to see the drive impact after Jamie's standing heavy punch, but again, if you are aware of this, then it's easy to react. Also, some setups can be avoided by just jumping, but is risky because if your opponent does a heavy normal into drive impact, you could get caught. So my advice is to expect this and punish, but if you are in burned out state, try to super, or if you have no meter then try jumping. I wouldn't advise to perfect parry or parry, because you cannot punish after a parry in case you missed it, so it's not worth it. Instead, just counter drive impact, and you will take drive meter from the opponent. And again, after most heavy normals, you will not be able to jump or grab your opponent, so the best option is always to counter the drive impact with your own. If you are in burnout state, your only options will be to super or jump in case you have no meter. Also, I wanted to mention the advantage of using modern controls, because it will be easier to react with one button instead of doing the full motion of the super. If your opponent is in burnout state, you will see this often. They will do neutral jump, and this is punishable. And remember, if they throw a button after jumping, it's worse. Even if they are not in burnout state and do this, you can punish this with a drive impact. If the opponent is in the corner and in burnout state, the worst they can do is neutral jump. Remember, this will also work even if they are not in burnout state, so be prepared to punish those neutral jumps. Not sure if this was the same in Street Fighter V, so this might only be useful to new players. When you jump with a normal, you can get punished once you land, because also air normals have recovery, so if you jump with heavy kick or punch, your recovery will be long. But if your opponent does the normal very late, you will get hit, so your best option is to just drive impact if they do neutral jump with a normal. You will need to lab with your character to see what are the best pokes that will also allow you to react against the drive impact. So for Ryu, crouching medium kick is not a good option unless you have quick reactions. The best option for most characters will be standing light kick, crouching or standing light punch, crouching or standing medium punch, or standing heavy punch. Some characters have a good crouching medium kick, like Luke and Yuri. Just keep in mind, the crouching medium kick for Yuri and Luke still will need a decent reaction, so if you want to do a drive rush, do it with medium punch or light kick or punch. I made a video a long time ago explaining the correct way to do a drive rush, and also you will find multiple videos of people explaining this, but still I will add it here. Neutral drive rush will be your day-to-day tool to push your opponent, so it's important for you to know the best way to do it. Please don't do parry plus forward, because your opponent will see you trying and you will get punished. Instead, do forward and parry plus forward at the same time. Some call it instant drive rush, but it's just the right way to do drive rush. Since neutral drive rush will be your best option to push, try using it properly. Don't just do it, because your opponent will see it and you will get punished. Instead, try doing it after your opponent whiffed the normal. Please don't try a neutral drive rush if your drive gauge is less than half of the last bar. Only a drive impact or drive rush cancel from a normal will work. You can kind of buffer your drive rush from normals or specials, and this is very useful for combos, meaties, or setups. This is a clear example of how to use it for a combo. And here I am using it for a meaty. And lastly, you will need to pick your fastest poke for punishes from Drive Rush if you are close. Punishing in Street Fighter 6 will be critical. One bad read could lead you to lose the round even if you have full life. It is important for you to manage your drive gauge properly and your get off me options, because if your opponent reads your wake up Shoryuken, you could lose your round even if you have 4 to 5 bars of your drive gauge. Once people start realizing the importance of managing the drive gauge, you will see less people doing wake up Shoryukens. A punish counter will take 1 drive bar from the opponent with a heavy normal, and a little more if you do a neutral drive rush and a heavy normal, and if you add a super to the punish, you can take more. In this example, the opponent has 5 bars, but as I mentioned, a simple read could decide the round, because if you are in the corner with no super meter, you could get stunned. And remember, if your opponent has very little drive gauge, his only option will be another wake up Shoryuken, drive impact, or a super in case he has meter. What's wrong? Get up! This is it! It's not over! Here the opponent has 4 drive bars, so a punish with a critical art will leave him in burned out state, plus in the corner so you can stun him and do another combo. What's wrong? Get up! Most players will prefer to waste the last drive bar in a wake up Shoryuken, so you can bait it with a blank drive rush. What's wrong? Get up! Some critical arts will leave the opponent close, so it's easier to follow up with a drive impact in the corner like Luke.
Good? Well, thank you. Well fought. I'm too good.
You need to avoid being in burned out state, because most characters have setups or burnout infinites that are difficult to escape from. The reason is because burned out state will add +4 frames to normals on block only. So the only escape option is a super, but if you have no meter then you are in trouble. I have seen many pro players using the drive gauge like crazy, just because the next round the drive gauge will be full again, so if you notice, they get into burned out state thinking that they can get away with it, just because they are good, but they will have to adapt, and trust me, they will stop doing that once they realize it doesn't matter how good they are, because there are many setups for a drive impact without escape in the corner if they have no meter, or setups to bait their super and punish. Managing the drive gauge will be very critical in Street Fighter 6, so my advice to you is, always keep an eye on your drive gauge. If you have less then don't risk doing a wake-up Shoryuken because it could lead you to lose the round, just play safe. I hope you guys liked the video, and again thank you all for supporting.